No.
We can't do anything. And you know what? I've
It's
gone through
madness.
all that myself. I think every human being does. I mean, we can only know what we know. And we can hear other things, but until it becomes our own experience, all we can do is have compassion for each other, because we're all where we are. You know, I'll tell you something real fast. I had talked to you before about my my black swallowtail butterflies. And last month I was looking at them, and a whole lot of them, they're overwintering. They're not doing anything. They will not, until the days get brighter, a lot of them will not eclose. They will not transform into the butterfly stage. And this is called diapause.
Wow.
And, you know, it's been around for a couple of centuries, that term. Of course, the phenomenon has been going on for longer. And you put something on Facebook before about, oh, I can't remember. I read everything. Like, my goodness, I'm an old lady. I can't hold all this in. But you were breaking up the word. And the first part of it was dia, D-I-A. And I can't remember what, I think you put a cross, that it meant a cross. And which is true. And when I looked up this diapause, I love, you know, etymology. And it said, it said through. And I was thinking, Carrie had said across. And I thought, well, same thing. It's just a distance between one point to another. You can go across a bridge, or we can go through a tunnel, but we're going from one place to another. And it's not hibernation. Diapause is different. When you are in hibernation, everything slows down. But when you are in diapause, there is no, how can I explain it? There's nothing going on. You're not growing. You're not doing anything. Isn't that something? And it's mostly in insects, but I read that they're discovering that the same thing can be happening with human embryos, seeds. And of course, they'll learn more, because we're always learning. But you know what, honey? It just showed me my own life. I'm not beating myself up over what I didn't know before. I'm just having complete compassion for myself. And like I've always had everybody else, because that's what, in my opinion, that's what it means for such a time as this. It's when it's said in there, it's when when the time is right, when the outside environment is ripe and ready. And so we're all on the same journey. We're all going to make it, but we're, you know what I mean? If
actually,
what?
Oh, well, I was just going to say that that is really profound when you say it, when the outside elements
are
ready, when they're favorable. So it's like, I can see this spiritually with this like great awakening, that many take this diapause in their spiritual life, because there's a spiritual seed that's planted, and that's like connected literally to the letter noon. So when this seed is planted, when the situation externally is favorable, then all of a sudden the pause is no longer a pause.
Right.
It's like all of a sudden it begins to germinate and gets to change, but those frequencies something had to happen on the external to cause that quickening. That is absolutely beautiful. So until that happens, so humans can be on a diapause. That is so fascinating.
I had said before, I asked you one time, and I had thought about it. Why does it all happen? Why is there so much coming right now? Is it like that was how it always was, and I just was left out in the cold and didn't know? But no, there is really something going on. And like you said, it's probably because the time, for such a time as this is the time.
It is. And all that photon light energy that we've been getting, all of that stuff, this is unprecedented of what we're experiencing. So I think a lot of that had to be a catalyst to get us out of our pause moment. And that's why so many people have been coming and being made alert, at least to the awakening process, at least like being aware of duality. And then those who have been in duality for a while that have seen it, then they're jumping into the next stage. So it's just like it's a phase increment that is rolling through humanity. So those that were the early ones popped over into another level. The midways popped into another, and then the ones that hadn't been awakened at all are now getting to come alive. So that is absolutely fascinating. I'm glad you shared that with me, because that, how much we can learn from those beautiful butterflies. You've already shared stuff about the purge that they go through, and then this whole thing, this diapause. I had never heard such a thing.
I didn't either. And even the black swallowtail, they're outside in my enclosure, and they just look like nothing. They're just in their little chrysalis. But the other butterflies do the same thing. They just do it in different times and different patterns. So that helps me with looking at people.
Wow.
And looking at like family members, or we're all different, even though the journey, it will lead us to the same place. We're different stages in different ways, because even my my other butterflies, they were so afraid they were going extinct, and the ones that eat the milkweed. And you know what? They have like 4 generations. So they're born, and then they're caterpillars, and then they become a butterfly. They live 2 to 6 weeks. That's it. And then the other caterpillars take over. So on the 4th generation, listen to this. The 4th generation, all the ones that are east of the Rockies, they start migrating down to Mexico, to the groves. And they come up, they're coming from Maine, Vermont, everything. They take that long trek. And then when they overwinter in these groves, everything west of the Rockies, these butterflies go to California, or into the groves on the coast. And they don't eat, and they don't do anything. They are in diapause. And they are waiting until they know, how nature, God's spirit, whatever, tells them it's time. And then they take that long trek back to where they came from. And they get nectar, they mate, they have babies, and then they die 2 to 6 weeks. Isn't it just fascinating?
My goodness. There's so much spiritually that we could dig out in that. Truly.
God speaks to me. I'm pretty much housebound, and God speaks to me through nature. He does to everybody, it's there. But yeah.
Well, but he specifically brought the butterfly to you to speak to you these spiritual concepts, because you can't really get out. So it's just beautiful. That's just beautiful.
Well, anyway, I didn't mean to go off on that, but when you're talking about,
I'm glad that you did.
Your mom, I'm just thinking, like I said, I was in the beginning, when I was listening to you guys, I was really stressed out, because I was thinking, I'm running out of time, and I have to do all this stuff. But I started to just learn to relax, and where I am, I'm where I'm supposed to be, and I'm practicing that.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. And because of that, because of getting rid of that anxiety, you're because that flips your heart, right? It puts it into that bell position. This is like what I was talking with Steve this morning. Now I totally get it. Your heart is in entropy. It's not making its own energy. It's like consuming itself. That's what anxiety does. So when you just begin to just sit back and relax and go, I'm not going to worry about it. I'm right where I need to be. Now you've got your heart in the right order. You took it out of that self-consuming, imploding energy into having it something where it is generating energy again. So, which is life sustaining. So you actually give your life more length to it by flipping the polarity like that. So that's what I wish I could.
Let me say that I'm practicing this.
It
still comes, but I remember
every day.
I remember, and then I do it. The first time I ever heard you guys, I don't even know how, I just saw it on YouTube, and I listened to a couple things, and I was like, oh my gosh, because I had pretty much left the Christian church. Well, let's say, I don't know how long it's been now. I was Catholic when I was young, and then I was Protestant for 45 years. And once I learned that there was no God that was going to, torture us eternally, in a place called hell, it just, once that brick was taken out of the wall, as things started crumbling, I started questioning everything then. And I still have all my evangelical friends, even though some of them, you know, probably think I've fallen off the deep edge. Because the only thing I've ever really told them is that I don't believe in hell. If they ever knew all the other stuff, you know, but I just feel that, you know, when I'm asked questions, then I'm honest. But I think it's even rude of me to even push any of my ideas on anyone. I want to live it more than talk it, you know?
So
that's
good.
That's what I'm practicing. But you know what, baby? The first message I ever sent you, and I know you've had this. I heard you mention that other people do it, so I hope you won't mind. I really want to read something to you that I wrote like 18 years ago. That's okay to start?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. And I'm going to ask you, like you always ask us, to don't pay attention to the English words, or you know, to the words, period. And you say don't look at the letters if you can't, but just hear it in your heart. And I just know there's so many things. You're an individual, I'm an individual, but oh my gosh, I suffered from, you know, complex PTSD, and you know, my words of you know, affirmation, that's my love language. Just so many things that I guess I'm saying I know enough of your heart that I know you'll, of course, this is old narrative. This is where I was 18 years ago, and Spirit would give me messages all the time, and they were always so beautiful. And sometimes I was writing what I was hearing. I'd always see a picture first or scripture, and I'd write things out, and I think, gosh, God, you know, I didn't even see some of these beautiful things in the other person, but they were always wonderful. And when I got this one, it really made me wonder. It has a good ending, but it seemed harsh. It seemed strong. And when I read it, you know, you'll hear God and he and all that. But oh my gosh, now that I've found you guys, now that you've opened up this, you know, Yohevavhe, you know, everything, it's like now when I read it and I see the truth in it, oh my gosh, I'm happy, because this was somebody dear to me. And you know, I don't want to say too much, but they'd really gone off the deep end. They were using people. They were, you know, just taking, lying, stuff like that. And it was so sad for me. And so the first thing that came to me, and this is what I heard you or Ken say on the first thing, I thought, and it reminded me. Okay, let me hush up and let me show you the first. And you can't see this, but
It's
I just showing you. These papers are even yellowed and crinkly. I drew a picture that I saw, and it's a garden tree. A garden tree. I never heard that term from anybody. And so let me read it. It says, okay. I saw a vision of a garden tree standing in the center of an orchard, surrounded by many tall trees on every side. The garden tree's roots grew downward to connect to the river of life, which flowed underground. Many of its roots, however, were being crowded out by the roots of these taller trees that grew nearby. The little tree bore some fruit, but not to capacity. I saw that some of its branches had been pruned. I also noticed gashes in the tree, one in the body of its trunk and one at the bottom. And I understood in my spirit that this tree had sustained a heart wound and that it had problems with its walk. At first glance, the tall trees in the orchard seemed magnificent, like stately columns. But the Lord told me to look closely, and as I did, I saw that the trees were dead, a sickly grayish color. They bore no leaves, and high up, unbeknownst to the garden tree, their branches intertwined like a bed of snakes. And listening closely, I heard the distant hum of their hissings, their evil communication. These trees do not drink from the same source, neither do they compete for the same nutrients. Rather, they contend for the harvest. For their seed is of old, their nature to deceive, and their purpose to choke out. There's an ill wind that blows through these trees, and it carries about a soulful tune. Its melody boasts promises of joy and fulfillment, but in truth, it's a song of lies. And many have fallen prey to its soothing, beckoning lure, only to find themselves disillusioned and entrapped in a bed of discontentment. From time to time, this tune wafts faintly through the branches of the garden tree, and he is secretly troubled. Momentarily, he feels a fleeting sense of dread, a distant, ominous threat or of foreboding. But he quickly dismisses this thought, assessing his property, which appears so strong and magnificent. He sighs with relief and says in his heart, surely all is well. But he fails to notice that he has become increasingly dwarfed in comparison to, and indeed in danger of being swallowed up by, that which he perceives to be an extension of himself. But there is one, and I capitalized one when I wrote this a long time ago. There is one who sees all and knows all, and his voice drowns out the eerie song of the orchard and bellows this decree to the garden tree. And this is a word I heard from Ken about plowing. It says, behold, the plowman cometh. Welcome his arrival.
Wow.
Bid him do his work. Of course, this is mother, but I didn't know that.
Wow.
As it was not of you to prune yourself in times past. See, we're not able to do things all the time. It also belongs to the mighty hand of God to now make a clearing in the land. For he will hew down and he will uproot and he will upturn and he will till. And you, when you see these things happen, will fall on your face and weep bitterly because of your great loss. But from the day that you determine to seek the Lord your God and serve him with all your might, he will be found of you. And in abundance of mercy and compassion, he will open the heavens and pour down rain. And then will the ground be fertile and not fallow, and your branches will bud and blossom, and the seed which falls into the soil shall take hold and flourish. The tender shoots shall break through and grow steadily toward the light, and the fruitful field will be esteemed as a forest. And when you behold the inheritance that your God has chosen for you, you will declare the word that David spoke. Their sorrows shall be multiplied that hasten after another God. Their drink offerings of blood I will not offer or take up their names unto my lips, because the Lord is the portion of mine inheritance and of my cup. Thou maintainest my lot. The lines are fallen unto me in pleasant places. Yea, I have a goodly heritage. And you know what? I got to tell you that this happened in these people's lives, and they are still homeless and learning little lessons, but that's not my job. But to me, this is so much, there was so much help, and they're stubborn, and we're all like that. And you know what, baby, I got to tell you, since I've been doing my shadow work, oh my, this just speaks to me. This all came back to me in a different way. You know, you talk about those levels.
Yeah.
To me, those columns are the egoic structures that we put around us, you know,
Yes.
and there are
Yes.
fantasies. They are, you know, accomplishments or, you know, whatever, material things. And we think that we're secure in that, but they're dead. They're dead.
That's right.
And they take from our inheritance. So you guys, every time you mention a word, like I said, doesn't mention mother, but you know, the plow and everything. I mean, I don't know. I had to share it with you. I asked you
I'm
when
so
the first
glad.
time I ever contacted you, can I type it up or something? But I can't type anymore with my hands. But isn't it something how the spirit
It's amazing.
is always getting its message out, whether we understand or not? You know what I'm saying? So when you pray for your mom, or you know, talk to her, or anybody that we know, we just have to remember we're not the ones, you know, gonna boot them along. We're just there to support and love with compassion, because it'll happen. It'll happen sometime.
I agree. Thank you for sharing that. Like, that is so
For
beautiful.
letting me.